Okay, we are live. I didn't even see it come on. That was quick. Normally it takes a while. Good morning, everybody. I'm coming to you from the East Coast, and my guest this morning is Melissa Bird. She's in Oregon. This is part of my continuing series, Clean Out Congress, where I am platforming progressive candidates because I believe, as personally and also as a journalist, that we need to do something to change up what is happening in Washington right now. If you may have noticed, the world is sort of exploding. And I think that it's going to require a sea change in Congress, not only by removing Republicans who are doing nothing and enabling fascism, but we also need to remove fascist collaborators in entrenched Democrats. So I am happy to welcome Melissa Bird from Oregon. I'm not exactly sure where in Oregon you are. Where are you, Melissa?
Hi, everybody. I am Dr. Melissa Bird. I live in Corvallis, Oregon. I am a descendant of the Shivwitz Band of Southern Paiutes, and I am running for Congress in Oregon's 4th Congressional District Democratic primary.
Okay.
Which is coming up very quickly.
Okay. I was going to say, yeah, she's running in the 4th district. When is your primary, Melissa?
The primary is May 19th, but we are a vote by mail state. So all of us receive our ballots on April 29th. So it is coming quickly.
Okay. No, so are you ballot eligible? Do you have your signatures? Are you ready to go?
In Oregon, you can choose to pay to get on the ballot or do signatures. So, it's really interesting, actually. So I paid to get on the ballot.
Okay.
It's not like a huge fee. It wasn't
No,
that bad.
yeah. I mean, it can be really super difficult just to get the signatures. So I don't think that's...
No, I didn't have to do that. But I will tell you what is bizarre here in Oregon is, the voters pamphlet that you get that has all the nifty, everybody's bio, so you can make an informed decision about who you're voting for. In Oregon, you can pay $2,500 to get in the voters pamphlet, and you can edit your voters pamphlet statement anytime you want, or you can collect 300 signatures and you can never edit your statement again. And that's actually where we decided to get signatures, because we used it as a voter outreach tool, but also there was no way I was paying $2,500 to get in the voters pamphlet.
To change it or not change it. So what, I don't understand, like what benefit does that bring to either change it or not change your bio?
So the benefit is, as you get more endorsements, you could, like, if you get endorsements later on, like before they print the voters pamphlet, you can add those endorsements. So I got a lot of, like, Working Families Party endorsed me, and I got a couple of other endorsements, but I can't put them on the voters pamphlet because people signed the petition as is. Okay. But the reason I bring that up is because, I'm a working mom, married to a disabled veteran. I'm running because I think we need more working people, in Congress, like people who are actually being impacted by what's going on in Congress. And so, it's just all of these costs that we associate with running for office are the reason we don't have more progressive working class people running in seats like this. And so I bring it up because I think it's important for people to understand that, a lot of the reason we don't have more inspiring candidates on the ballot, is because this is a really hard thing to break into if you don't know the structure and you don't know what you're doing. I mean, I've been working in politics for almost 30 years as an advocate and a social worker and a community organizer. And so for me, I already know how this whole entire system works, but I think for a lot of people who think, oh, I want to lead and I want to make a difference in my community, but I don't know how, the structure is not set up for people to be able to do that.
Yeah, as I've been doing this series, Clean Out Congress, I've learned so much because, you and I are in a group where it's predominantly candidates who are running, and just the process just to get on the ballot, Vance Bostic, who's running against Hakeem Jeffries, who just, I'm so excited for him. He actually made it onto the ballot, but the scramble just to get the number of signatures, it's almost like it's rigged against anybody, because we know that the Democratic machine, it gets behind somebody, and there is truly a machine that amps up people and it keeps incumbents locked in. And it really is a shame, because it makes change and challenging incumbents very difficult. And that's that's my personal observation as I've watched you guys go through the process. So you mentioned your background. Your background is you've done some social work. Is that what you said?
Yeah, I have a master's degree and a PhD in social work, and I've always practiced. So in social work, we're not all just clinical social workers, right? Like in social work, there's actually a focus in the field on, it's called macro practice.
Okay.
So that means you do policy work, legislating, advocacy, lobbying. And so that's how I started my whole political career, was advocating for homeless LGBTQ youth in Utah. So I'm originally from Utah,
Okay.
but I'm okay. Just kidding. No offense. Uh, um,
Okay, good to know.
So I started out advocating for homeless LGBTQ plus youth, and then like back in 2001 when we were not talking about those things. And then after I finished my master's degree, I ended up getting hired by Planned Parenthood to be their chief lobbyist in Utah. And so
Wow.
I've
Wow.
always been someone who's been involved in politics and elections, and um, really that's where my passion is. That's where my heart lies. So
Huh.
I've always wanted to run for office. I tell people when I was little, when my friends were being nurses and teachers, I was the president, and I was a mom. So I had a baby,
Oh.
always a baby doll with me all the time. And I was the president. I don't want to be the president. Let's be honestly very clear, because I understand what that means now. But
Yeah.
I've always wanted to run for office, and it's something that I've always really wanted to do. And I
And here you
decided now
are.
was the time.
So, what tipped you over? You said you're married to a disabled veteran. You're Indigenous, which I did not know. That's really cool. What tipped you over at this moment in time, Melissa, where you were like, "I've got to get in"?
There's a couple of things that tipped me over. One was that I was listening to our incumbent talk in their town halls in 2024, and I just felt like they just didn't understand what it's like to be living in this economy at this moment. We have three kids. One just graduated from college, but the other two are teenagers.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kept thinking, these people who've been in politics forever do not understand what it is like to go to the grocery store and put things back. They don't, because you can't pay for everything.
Oh
They
yeah.
don't understand what it is like to be navigating this inflation and what's happening in our economy. We are renters. They just raised our rent another $75 a month. And I looked at our property manager and I said, I don't know how we're going to pay for that. And he said, well, good luck. And I was like, thanks, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that people in Congress are making decisions about our lives and about our families. And they don't have any idea what it is like to be here at this moment in this district in particular, because it's a very rural, there's two cities, but it's a very rural district. And so there were just a lot of things that came into play that made me think, I would be a really phenomenal advocate for the people in Congressional District 4. And so I launched my campaign on July 1st, 2025, and here we are.
And to be clear, for those who are watching now or see this later, the incumbent is a Democrat in District
Correct.
4,
I'm running
right?
in the Democratic primary. And in Oregon, we have closed primaries. So you have to be a registered Democrat in order to vote, or a registered Republican to vote in the Republican primary, and a registered Democrat to vote in the Democratic primary.
Okay, well, let's get into the meat of what's going on, because there is so much going on. So, where do you stand on the issues? Where are you in terms of APAC money and big corporate donors like Palantir? Of course, that's owned by
Well,
PWTO.
yeah, I don't take any corporate money, and I do not take APAC money. That's blood money.
Okay.
I have been endorsed by Track APAC, actually. So I've also been, I have from the very beginning, I knew this was a grassroots campaign. And so all of our donations have been from $10 all the way up to $3,500, but mostly they're $10 and $20 donations that have really been the meat of this campaign. And I'll tell you one of the things that I've realized. So we have bought into the lie and the myth that it takes millions of dollars to run for Congress. And what I am realizing is that it only takes millions of dollars if you have corporations buying your campaign for you.
Mm.
But you know what? We have raised, I think we're almost at $60,000 since July.
Okay.
And we have hit every county in this district. We have hit all the voters. We have a ground game that is just unbelievably phenomenal. And I am meeting with people in community because I believe in being in community with people. And I will lead that way, even in Congress. When I am home in district, I'm going to be in community, dragging my kids all over. the coast to go meet with people. But what I realized, and I really only realized this a couple of weeks ago, you don't need millions of dollars to run for Congress. You probably need a couple $100,000 to run for Congress,
right,
because districts are so huge. But what we are realizing is you can connect with voters and you can reach people on, $100,000 ish, right?
okay,
And so I believe that this campaign is not just a campaign; it's a movement to help people see that there are real people who want to be involved in politics. Politicians put their pants on one leg at a time, like everybody else. They're just people.
right.
And we have bought into the mythological lie that they have to be millionaires, that they have to be, endorsed by certain people. And what we are proving in this race is that we don't.
Right. Well, I think what happens is that you see people get into Congress and they change. They start out with these good intentions, and then the big money gets in and absolutely corrupts them. I mean, as a reporter, I've seen it. I mean, it's not that hard to find. I mean, you look
No.
at what is going on right now, and the reason I want to circle back to the APAC matter is because it's so critically important in terms of what is happening right now with this war that we're in,
Yeah.
because we're directly there because of the influence of Israel. And I found out just yesterday, and I'm going to dig into it more later, that apparently the DNC or the Democrats at large have refused to break with APAC.
Yes.
With
That
all of
yesterday.
the outrage
Yeah.
that the vast majority of Americans, and it's not even just Democrats, people on the left, it's also people on the right who have had it with this relationship that America has with Israel. And yet, at this critical junction, at this critical moment, the DNC has refused to break ties with APAC. That just blew my mind, Melissa. And what I read.
And the incumbent in this race, the Democratic incumbent in this race, is very well funded by APAC. And she refused to call what was happening in Palestine a genocide. Like she is not here for stopping this war. She says she is, right? But this is the thing. This is the thing that we have to look at when we're looking at particularly Democratic primaries. What are people saying versus what are they doing?
Yeah.
There's a difference between those two things. And here's another thing that, Democrats keep saying: we need to get rid of Citizens United. Well, while they're taking millions and millions of dollars from corporations. And I actually called the incumbent out on this online on TikTok or something. I think it was TikTok. Yeah. And I said, if you really believe in getting rid of Citizens United, how about you take all that corporate money, all those millions of dollars that you are taking, and you donate it to an organization that is helping our immigrants who have been arrested by ICE get out of custody and get their immigration status, and you stop taking corporate money and you raise money $10 at a time like the rest of us. And of course, I never heard anything from it and whatever. But but you are right. Yesterday, the DNC formally announced that they would not be cutting ties with APAC. Yeah. And this is the thing. What we are doing as truly progressive, regular, everyday people running for Congress in the Democratic primaries across the country is we are showing this nation that there is another way. There's actually something to vote for, right? People want something to vote for. They're tired of fighting and being on the defense. They want something to vote for. And that is what this campaign represents, what I represent. And I understand that people change, but let me tell you, I think the reason, and I've been in politics forever, so I think the reason that people honestly change is because they don't refuse to take that corporate money. Right. And then they're torn between these corporations that are holding them hostage and their people. I was in Port Orford the other night, and I'm in a room of 30 people, and they're like, what are you going to do? Like, how are you not going to change? And my answer is always this. I grew up a Native, non-Mormon, feminist, bisexual person in Utah.
Oh, whoa, in Utah.
I have always been this person.
Oh my goodness.
I'm used to being in spaces where people don't want me. I'm used to being in spaces where people think that I am a horrible person. And somehow I have prevailed and created a career that is beautiful and rich and helps the people. And so I think that it's that pull between APAC money and corporate money and all this other shit, frankly,
Yeah.
And remembering that we are actually here to work for the people.
I mean, I will be doing reporting on this later because I've been doing a lot of reporting on Midas Touch, but all over my social media, calling out this really sickening relationship between the United States and Israel. I mean, this is not obviously my opinion. It is scholars around the world. It is the Genocide Convention. All of these parameters. What Israel is doing is genocide in Gaza, and now we are seeing it happening in Lebanon as well. Not to mention the draining of American tax dollars. Well, we do not have health care. We don't. Our education dollars have been slashed. You're talking about. I know what it's like to go to the grocery store and be like, oh gosh, I can't afford this today, and we're sending billions and billions of dollars to Israel every single year, and they're always asking for more. And then yesterday, Chuck Schumer is literally spitting out AIPAC talking points while they are slaughtering civilians. And I cannot get my head around why the DNC would refuse to break ties with AIPAC when we are in the middle of fighting fascism. I mean, what's your take on that as somebody who's running?
Well, I think that so my husband and I, my husband is like a Cold War era trained. He's like the last generation of Cold War era trained Army veterans,
Okay.
right? So he and I have talked about this a lot because there is a mentality that you have to preserve Israel because it's the only quote unquote democracy in the Middle East, right? But what we know to be true today is that this well-funded war machine is is doing something that is unprecedented, and it started with Palestine and now it's expanding. This is colonization in 2026. This is what colonization looks like in 2026.
100%.
And the fact that we are suffering and struggling so much as the American people while we are spending nearly trillions. It's not just billions.
Oh no,
we're getting up there.
We're getting to trillions, absolutely.
We're getting to trillions while we are all suffering, while we have such a horrible housing crisis. We have a food insecurity crisis. We have a healthcare crisis, right? And I actually think that that is on purpose. The more you break us down, the more stressed out we are, the more we have to work 3 jobs just to feed our kids.
Yeah.
The more we aren't paying attention to what's happening behind the curtain, right? And but the reason I am running is because I am not afraid to get on the floor of Congress and say the quiet thing out loud. And that's what we need from our elected officials. The fact that the entire body of Democrats in Congress have not come together and said something unified as a body in front of the White House, not the Capitol, but the White House, to say enough is enough. We are not going to support this. That is the problem, right?
Okay.
And so we need more leaders that are willing to stand up and bring people together. And I think that's what is so exciting about the 100 or so of us that are running across the country.
Yeah.
If we all win our primaries, we already have a caucus of 100 people that's willing to stand up and say what needs to be said.
Yes.
Because we aren't worried about corporations getting mad at us for saying things. I have to tell you, one of the things that I am most deeply concerned about is this dismantling of the U.S. Forest Service. Our forests in Oregon are critical to our tourist industry, to our ecosystem, to our wildlife, to our tribes. The fact that we are dismantling the United States Forest Service is terrifying to me. And the fact that the incumbent in this race supported the Fix Our Forests Act and said that the reason is because she has to support the timber industry. Small and mid-sized timber companies don't want clear cutting and old growth cutting because they know that forests don't grow back and they'll be out of business in 20 years. So when she says that, what she's saying is, I'm really supportive of Weyerhaeuser, who gives her a ton of money. These huge international corporations that don't care about our salmon, our owls, our wildlife, our deer, our forests, and old growth forests are protection against fire. If we start cutting down our forests, our wildfire problems are going to blow up. And so there are all these things that are happening here in Oregon that I am deeply concerned about. We are we're not just supporting the absolute devastation of people in the Middle East. That war is devastating the environment in the Middle East. The poisonings, the bombings, the water infrastructure. Like the earth over there is being decimated. And over here in the United States, we're like, don't pay attention to what we're doing to the forests, even though they are critical to our survival in Oregon.
Yeah.
And the incumbent is not stopping any of it.
Who is a Democrat? I just want to point that out. People always are like, we know the Republicans are awful, but the reason that I'm doing this series and uplifting all of you, and I also want to point out again that there is a cadre of progressive candidates who are running right now. Please share these clips or these interviews that I'm doing, or these conversations, I like to call them, because there really is a movement of progressive candidates who is trying to make a sea change in Congress, and we've got to lift their voices up. And what you're saying, actually, this is a story that I'm in the middle of working on right now about the U.S. Forest Reserve. It's an absolute nuclear bomb on the entire United States of America. I found out about it yesterday. It happened a couple weeks ago, and I was like, what? So that is, we could talk about that all day, but moving through that. So yes, huge, tremendous issue. I'm so glad you brought that up. It impacts each and every one of us. Where do you stand on Medicare for all, for healthcare for all? What's your stance on that real quick?
Well, obviously I think we all need health insurance. Like when I was with Planned Parenthood, I worked on the ACA, right? Particularly on helping advocate for the reproductive justice aspects of the reproductive health pieces of the ACA. But one of the things I have been talking about is that we have to find language that Republicans can support, so that we have to repackage this differently, because it's very feasible for us to get healthcare for all of us. It's really feasible. We already do it for veterans. We already do it with Medicaid. We already do it with Medicare.
Yeah, we do it for the military.
We do it for the military. We do it for all of these different, it already exists. It's just about dispelling the myth. Again, we've bought into a myth that it's going to cost more for, prescriptions, or
we've been brainwashed that socialism is bad.
Are going to go down
crazy.
In flame, and like all this stuff, and it's not true, right? Insurance companies will still be able to exist and make cajillions of dollars, right? Pharmacists, medical supply companies, and the pharmaceutical industry will still be able to make money. People will still need medicine.
Would you be for a nonprofit, like a Medicare for all style, like what Bernie Sanders promotes, or are you still?
I think that's very interesting. I need to get back into the nuts and bolts of all of it, because it's been so long since I was in the policy piece of it. But yeah, I am supportive of anything that is going to make sure that we all have insurance that does not cost us thousands and thousands of dollars a month.
Yeah.
Because that is just untenable.
Mexico just did it. They just made it universal, so no one has to pay for it. It's covered by the government. So,
yeah. And if we are not spending billions of dollars bombing people in the Middle East, or anywhere else for that matter, then what happens is that we have a whole lot of money to give to create healthcare for all of us.
We could have paid for it easily by now, with just in the 5 or 6 weeks of this war in Iran. Access to care for all is what Safriana is saying. Yeah. We could. That's why I'm asking. I'm not telling. I don't want to put words in your mouth, because you may disagree with that. But some candidates are like, absolutely Medicare for all, paid for with our tax dollars, which we'd still be paying for. But maybe you are for a for-profit model. I don't know.
No. I'm not for a for-profit model. What I'm saying is that the excuse we have for not creating access to healthcare for all of us is that the insurance companies and the pharmaceutical companies and the hospitals are going to lose money. And that is a lie. That is not true. If we have Medicare for all of us that is paid for with taxpayer dollars, they will still make money.
Okay.
It's just a different system.
Yeah. Yeah, they're always making money. And really, there's no other nation in the world that even has the middle part of the for-profit insurance companies. Like, we could just easily remove them. But of course, once again, it goes back to the lobbying and the stranglehold they have on.
Well, and what we have to do is help our Republican counterparts understand what it really means without all these us versus them talking points that divide us, right?
Yes.
We
Right.
have to come up with language for it that people can actually hear and listen to, that doesn't become some sort of spicy firebrand that we
Yeah.
use against each other, that makes the regular everyday American believe that it's a bad thing for all of us to have health care that's paid for with our taxes.
I mean, like you said, we do it. We do it, although it's been really banged up by the Trump administration for veterans, but we already do it for the military. We do it for veterans, all those. It's already there. The money is there. Imagine if we weren't, like you said, bombing innocent civilians in the Middle East,
Yeah.
and supporting Israel, which has universal free healthcare for all of their people. Imagine that. It blows my doors. There's so many things we could talk about, and we've gone through a lot of things. I love that you brought up the U.S. Forest Service, because that's like, I'm getting into that. Where do you stand on keeping Hakeem Jeffries as leader if you are elected to Congress?
I think we need a change of leadership.
Okay.
I don't know who all those people are because I'm not in Congress. I haven't, I know who they are in the media world, and I know who they are on social media, and I know who they are out here.
You mean the
But
people who would be other, like,
yeah,
leadership types? You
yeah.
don't have anyone in mind, perchance?
Um,
You don't have to.
I have a couple of people in mind, but I'm not going to talk about them.
Okay, no, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. But you would be for
I would
voting or
absolutely be
removing.
for having a different leadership.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. I'm sorry.
absolutely, because this leadership isn't doing what needs to be done. We have a fascist dictator sitting in the presidency making decisions that are going to decimate my family and the people that I love. And they're doing nothing. What is Hakeem Jeffries doing? He's spouting DNC and APAC talking points that we don't need that. We don't need that. We need a fighter who's going to lead this party to rise up against this rising tide of fascist dictatorship. That's what we need. And we don't have that right now.
No, we really don't. I mean, he comes off like, I'm on social media all the time, but he comes off as, in my opinion, very robotic.
Yeah.
I don't know, almost like non-human like. So it's Friday. Let's wrap it up on a fun note. What makes you kind of fun and, I don't know, quirky and relatable? I think that's what people are looking for. Like you just said at the beginning of this conversation, what makes you relatable to your constituents is how they will know that, hey, Melissa Byrd, she's going to understand me, or there's something relatable about her, so that if she gets to Congress, she's still like us. She's like us, So I don't know. Do you have some fun facts you want to share?
I'll give you 5 fun facts about me.
Yeah.
I love cross stitching. My mother owned a fabric store when I was a teenager, and I love cross stitching. I love it.
Okay.
I also make needle felted dolls. So I love that.
Okay.
The second thing is I've been reading since I was 3 years old. So I read about 3 or 4 books a week.
Oh my God.
The third thing is that I needed to get a car, and my husband said I needed a car that fit my personality, and I was driving a Toyota Corolla. No offense to the Toyota Corolla drivers. So I bought a bitchin' Camaro. And I love my Camaro more than anything on earth. It's really awesome. Delightful. Metallica is my most favorite band of all time ever, and I listen to them on the daily. Still to this day, they are always mixed in with my music. I love Metallica more than anything else on earth. And I think the fifth thing that makes me really relatable is that I am actually having fun running for Congress. So when people see me, they're like, how do you have this much energy? And I'm like, I have no idea. I'm just having a great time. I love listening to people's stories. Every time someone in the district tells us their issues, we keep a running list. And from day one, we are going to be introducing legislation that's actually based on what the people are telling us they need, not what we think they should need. And so leading from community is critical to me. And so that is how we're operating in the world, is that I am having so much fun running for Congress, and the voters know it and they can tell, and I'm having a great time. connecting with people and actually hearing what their needs are so that we can actually do something about it. Because that opportunity does exist in Congress, but Congress has to be motivated to do things for the people.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. You seem like a really fun person. And I think that's what, I mean, just not only as a reporter who reports on this all the time, but also as a constituent. I think what has been really lost with the Democrats, I mean, obviously, I don't know what the Republicans, I mean, they seem to be just completely in league to whatever their orange God wants. But even with Democrats, they seem to have completely disconnected from what their constituents want. I mean, when your entire voter base almost, or the majority, is saying abolish ICE, and they're like, we're just going to reform. Like, what? Like,
no.
what? They're
no.
not listening. It's like they are just like, nope, no. You know, it's crazy to me. So I think that that's wonderful. Where can people find you? What do you need? Like, tell us all your socials, or where people can find, or what help you need in your campaign, Melissa.
So people can find us on our website at Melissa Bird for Congress, FOR Congress.com. All our socials are on there. We're on all the social media platforms, some better than others. And what we need is donors. So, like, you know, every campaign requires money. What we're looking for is $10 donors, $20 donors. People can donate straight from the website. We're also looking for volunteers. So our canvassing and our phone banking is really wrapping up. And what I really want from all of you is to say my name, whether you're in the district or not. Say my name to everyone you know, because the bird is the word. And as long as we get my name out into the world, people are going to know who I am, and they're going to know how to vote for me and that I'm running. So like, share, follow, subscribe, all the things. And I just look forward to connecting with more and more people throughout the district and throughout the country. Because remember, even if you don't live in Oregon's 4th congressional district, the people that we are electing to Congress are going to impact this entire nation for at least the next 2 years.
100%. The bird is the word.
The bird is the word.
I love it. From the crow to the bird. Awesome. Well, it's been a delight speaking with you this morning. You are a blast, and I wish you and your campaign the best. You guys, I will repost this later to my Substack. It'll also be reposted onto my YouTube channel, and I'll put the shareable clips on my social media and share them also with Melissa's campaign. So everyone, have a terrific Friday, and I will see you back here soon. Bye, everyone.
Thanks so much. It was lovely to chat with you. Bye.
Bye. Peace, everybody.